I think it's 6 o'clock and I think we can get started. Welcome to our informational night regarding enrollment for the Boise Online schools for next year, the elementary and the secondary school. My name is Debbie Donovan and I'm the area director for the Boise Quad, and I will be moderating this program tonight. We really appreciate all those that completed the interest survey a couple weeks ago. That helped us greatly. We were able to get lots of really good information from you about what you liked about this year's offerings, as well as things we could work on to improve, as well as your initial interest into this upcoming school year. The purpose of this presentation is to provide you information about the upcoming schools, the elementary and the secondary for this upcoming year, as well as answer some of your questions. Again, thank you to those that submitted questions and those that have had questions over the last few weeks. We've put them in this program as well to answer them in this format. So first off, I'd like to introduce our participants that are going to be helping moderate this. We have Amanda Kuznia, our amazing principal for this year's current BOSS school. She did such an amazing job this year, getting things up and running and keeping everything going, and loved all of the clubs and the social media information that went out and just the engagement of kids. I know a lot of the success is due in large part to all of her great work. So thank you, Amanda. And thanks for being part of tonight's Q&A. And then we also have Tammy Burks, who is going to be our new principal for this upcoming school year. We're really excited to have her on board. She comes to this position with a wide variety of experiences at all levels in the Boise School District. So it's a great fit for starting out these two new standalone schools. And we also have a huge thank you to Charisse Longoria, our special ed supervisor for the Boise Quad. She will be able to answer our special ed questions that we had submitted. So I think we'll go ahead and get started, and we're going to start with a brief overview from Tammy Burks about some of the new things for this school.
Thank you. First, I want to say, when we have been in a worldwide pandemic and we have such a great opportunity to have had these schools this year and to have them continue next year to be standalone schools by themselves instead of what we have this year. And so I'm super excited that we have such a great opportunity. We're going to have the Boise Online Secondary School, which will be 7th grade through 12th grade. And that's going to be more for an independent learner that wants a little bit of a setup that's a little bit different than the traditional school, for someone who's loves to thrive and they're a little bit more independent, someone who focuses on their achievements with the academics. And then we also have our Boise Online Elementary School, which will be kindergarten through 6th grade. And it's going to be set up for students who have the support at home that can progress through the course requirements, or any students that wanting to learn away from the traditional school setting. A couple of things that are a little bit different about this going into next year is that we are going to be a standalone school. And so students need to pick one, either their homeschool or neighborhood school or our Boise Online School. We are going to have everything else that the traditional school has: principal, assistant principal, counselor, registrar, our own teachers that are our special ed teachers, academic interventionists, just like you would see in a traditional school. We've got enrollment caps that some people have been hearing about. In our elementary school, we've got 300. And in our secondary school, which is 7th through 12th, we have 500. And we base that off of your input that you gave us in our survey that we sent out a few weeks ago. And so we based it off of the information that we gained from you guys that we greatly appreciate. I think that, yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to get to the question and answer portion of the program. I wanted to kind of just get you up to speed of where we're at today. So as of today, we're in the process of transitioning, of course, Boise Online School, a home of the Badgers, from a temporary emergency program to a standalone school. we're beginning that enrollment process from zero, because that was those schools, if you knew that those schools were housed under some of our traditional schools, and now because they are standalone, like Tammy said, we're starting from zero and having kids enroll back into that, enroll into that school. So all students as of right now that are in Boise Online are, as of in the year of 21-22, will be rolled back or have been rolled back into their traditional neighborhood school. I know the junior high and high school have already done their registration, and they registered through their traditional counselors at their school. So to enroll into Boise Online School, as you saw in the directions that Amanda sent out last week, along with that video, so that was really great, because I know Infinite Campus can be a little bit difficult at times, and it was really nice to have those nice directions from Amanda. So to enroll, you need to opt in and complete that enrollment process through Infinite Campus. And we'll continue to have that in the weekly newsletter that Amanda sends out. As of today, we have 50 students that have enrolled in grades 7 through 12, and 33 students that have enrolled in K through 6. So again, if you recall of what our caps were, this is well below our initial enrollment caps. And we anticipated that, and we anticipated it to be slow, because this is a very big decision. We totally get that. And so we hope that tonight we can provide you some information that can help guide you in making that decision. So the first section of questions I'm going to take are relating to enrollment and how to make that decision. And we understand that that's a top concern. And so, and the other concern is losing your spot in your neighborhood school. And we know that this year we allowed for that because we had kids moving back and forth. And again, we didn't know how the pandemic would roll out throughout the year. And we wanted to make that option still that available so that we did hold spots. This upcoming year, we will not be holding spots. And so we want to go through a little bit about why that is and how you can navigate that. And again, if you have specific student questions or concerns about your neighborhood school and what that might look like, your best bet is to contact your neighborhood principal, because they have a good idea of where we typically are in August in their school. Even taking away the pandemic, they have good history about where that school is usually at in August. So these are some of the top 3 things that we'd like you to consider when you're making this decision. If student health and the concern over the uncertainty of the pandemic, if that's your main primary concern, which we totally understand, we would encourage you to enroll in the Boise Online School. If you're more concerned about the choice of the course choices, or being able to be with their neighborhood friends and being secured that spot in your neighborhood school, you may want to stay in the neighborhood school and then make a decision later on about moving into the online school. If you have, again, like I said, if you have student-specific questions, the principal at your school is the most amazing person to go to give you more specific guidance than we can based on the online. The principal is the one to contact. Okay, so now I'm going to start with the questions that we had submitted. Why the March 5th date? So we're trying to be prepared as possible. And we start staffing, if you can believe it, late February. We've already started it into March. And we encourage the parents to enroll by March 5th. So we'll have preliminary enrollment information so that we can staff it appropriately. Because we base staffing decisions on the actual people that are attending, the students that are enrolled, rather than projections. But again, we always, even outside of a pandemic, we reevaluate where we are again in August, and because we know there's always enrollment shifts over the summer. And we make changes in August based on that enrollment data. So if we do get a lot of kids moving into second grade at Longfellow and we have space, we often will add a classroom at Longfellow. Same will be with the online. If we get a significant number that are potentially moving into the online school, we would potentially open up a spot. Right now, if we reach the cap, which I'm not saying we will reach the cap, but if we did, we will start a wait list, just like we would if we had that large number of second graders at Longfellow. We would start a wait list there and make a decision in August. So again, we really appreciate anyone that is able to make a decision now so that we can staff, but we understand that that may come a little bit later. What happens, the next question is, what happens if the enrollment cap reaches 500 for the secondary? So like I said, we would start a wait list, and we would, just like in our traditional schools, we would add staffing if we had enough kids to add. Like if we had a couple over, we may not be able to add the staffing, but if we have a significant number, we would definitely add staffing. So again, we reevaluate and make those decisions in August. The tricky part about that is though, classes in the secondary may be full, electives may be full, and your choices may be a little bit limited in that. Will neighborhoods be holding a spot? If we register for BOSS, will our home elementary school reserve a spot so that we can decide if we feel comfortable returning in person mid-year, as in the case this year? So again, in order to provide us as much a stable and predictable ability for our students, teachers in both the online school and the traditional school, this upcoming year, we're not able to hold a spot because you are really actually enrolling into a school. So you're not dual enrolling into the school like we did this year, where you had primary enrollment into the online and secondary into your neighborhood. But again, in most cases throughout the year, we typically have space in the traditional school to allow for kids moving in the middle of the year, because again, we always prioritize our neighborhood students, in-boundary students, to get into those schools. If there isn't space, we do overflow. And we looked at that data, and really that's been around roughly 1% of our students in the elementary level have had to overflow. And that's a small number when you're looking at the 12,000 elementary students that we enroll. Secondary, we don't typically overflow, but again, the chance of getting into those course specific electives that you may want, those may be a little bit harder to get into in August. So again, if health and safety is that priority, I would encourage you to enroll in Boise Online, and then reach out to the elementary or your neighborhood school if you are considering a shift back. Another question was, what if we're not sure about our boundary school and what's best for our daughter? Our daughter is enrolling in 7th grade and has applied for competitive electives in junior high, but I would also like to know that she has a spot in BOSS. So this question tells me that the electives is an important piece, which I totally get for a 7th grader, and they want those specific electives. So I would encourage, in this situation, they enroll in their neighborhood school, and then know that if something comes up over the summer, that you can potentially enroll into the Boise Online. And my guess is there will still be space in that, unless we have a big surge of people moving in. But that this question tells me that the electives is an important factor. And again, the unique thing about this one is the elective piece, which is she's spot on, that as kids move in late in the summer, families that move into our district late in the summer, potentially some of those electives may be full, and they would have to possibly choose another elective. So that's a good question. So if our community becomes safer, will my student be able to go back to their home school? Yes, absolutely. We don't ever require commitments of a time frame. Obviously, we'd like it to be at a natural break for the consistency of the student, especially in our secondary. But we do have families moving in all throughout the school year, and we make it work. So as space permits, we can make that work. Next question, how do I make the decision about the need to enroll when I don't know what it's going to be like in August? And again, that's the tough question. And in this situation, I mean, the question here is talking about the uncertainty of the pandemic. And if that's a concern, which we totally understand, then that might be an action to take, enroll in the online. And then again, if we're still in a positive trend in August or late July, go ahead and make that shift into the in-person, and it will probably be a less painful shift because you're already set up. Next question, do I have to enroll now or can I wait until the fall? You absolutely can wait until the fall. However, if we do fill, we will start a wait list, and then hopefully we can get you in August. That's something we can't guarantee. So that's kind of a decision, and maybe you want to wait a little bit. That's totally you're right. Will priority be given to students with health impairments? For this situation, I would say if I had a student with a health impairment and it was very important for me, I would enroll in the online school right away and secure my spot for that. I live in West Ada. Can I attend an online school? At this time, we are only approving those continuation forms that are already are attending Boise School District. So if you are an open enroll from West Ada and you're currently been approved in the past, we are accepting you. We are not accepting new open enrollment from any outside district. However, if we don't reach capacity, we will be able to open up open enrollment applications from out of district over the summer. We could potentially be opening those up. So that just depends on where we're at with our own in-district students. If a child is enrolled in Boise Online Elementary for the 21-22 school year, can they switch to their neighborhood school for 22-23? Yes. Or will they be treated like a new student and potentially waitlisted? And while you're a new student, you are an in-boundary student. So you are still considered a student that we would want to make sure that we have a spot for. And if you enrolled in let's say May to get ready for the following fall, that shouldn't be a problem because we're going to count you as an in-boundary student. And our goal is to always have our in-boundary students in attending in our neighborhood schools. If you waited until like late August of 2022, that might be a little more difficult, but you wouldn't be waitlisted if you came in May. If we enroll for Boise Online now, will there be an option to switch to traditional school if we change our mind? Yes, but again, keep in mind that in the secondary, your courses might not all be available. But again, if there is space permit, of course you can do that. Will we receive a confirmation when we are enrolled for next year? And yes, we will have our registrar will notify you that your application has been approved and that you have all of your forms in. And if you don't have all of that, she'll keep you up to date on like we're asking that all online students have an open enrollment application. And I know that was kind of tricky to complete. So Larissa will be sending those out to families here shortly to make sure those are all done. But she will definitely give you a confirmation email. And your home school will also know that you have left their school as well. There's a lot of uncertainty now about what the pandemic will be like in August. How will BSD operate traditional schools in 21-22? What sort of enrollment changes will be possible over the summer? And that we are always, throughout the summer, and even in a normal year, we are taking online enrollments over the summer, and schools are approving those and working through those. If we reach capacity in any certain grade level, we create schools, traditional schools create a wait list, as well as the online schools create a wait list. And we, if in the fall, we again reevaluate in early August, and we see if an added section or added course or class is required, we will do that if we have enough students on that. I think there was one other question that was on mine. Will the traditional schools look any different next year? And that, again, we will be updating our pandemic plan, our district and school pandemic plans throughout the summer, as we are going to have summer schools going throughout all summer. So we will continue to update that. I don't have no idea what that might look like. We are hopeful, but if things change, either way, obviously there will be changes to our pandemic plan, as we have throughout this whole year. We have continually updated that. Okay, so again, I always strongly encourage you to reach out to your school, your traditional school, your homeschool counselors or principal if you have specific questions relating to what they normally see in August or where their enrollment currently lies. And that can help guide some of your questions as well. Okay, now we're going to jump into some just general overview questions that Tammy's going to take.
Thank you. So a couple of the questions: will the setup be similar to this year? Yes, for the secondary, we will be set up on a quarter system where there are 3 classes each quarter, the same bell schedule that we have. And in elementary, we will have the study of coursework in the Google Classroom for grades 3 through 6, and then Seesaw in the K through 2. And students will also in the elementary have PE classes. They'll be able to access the library, music, just like they have in the traditional school. How do we submit the proper open enrollment paperwork if we selected the continuing open enrollment paperwork? Sometimes I know the Infinite Campus can be hard to upload. I've had some parents only be able to upload the first page, and just let us know. We'll reach out to you and help you get that paperwork completed. I've had some parents email either myself or Larissa to get all the 3 pages of the open enrollment paperwork. Dual enrollment. What about a student who wants to be in classes at the DTech or the Treasure Valley Math and Science? Students in the secondary should have already registered for their classes, and those they should already be selected in their class registration that they did a couple weeks ago. And so we'll be working with those schedules to make them adjust into the Boise Online schedules. How do we ensure that our students who want to take their core classes via the Boise Online and their elective/tech school courses at in-person school are able to be registered correctly for both sets of classes? We have worked very hard this year to make sure that that is balanced between the two, and we will continue to make sure that that is balanced. And there is no cookie cutter situation because all of the classes are a little bit different, specifically at DTech, whether they're taking it first block or third block. But we work within the schools to make sure that that is feasible for all of our students. Can you dual enroll a child in the Boise Online and in the person? And yes, if the kid wants to get the electives, like if it's band and orchestra, an art class that isn't available on the Boise Online, our schools work really well together. And so we will make sure that that can happen. How do I dual enroll in a course at my boundary school? In the secondary school, students are currently registered for their preferred classes. And so we will be working with those schedules, and hopefully we'll have most of that set up on the Boise Online. And for the ones that we can't, we will be working with the family and the student to make sure that it fits within their schedule and what they wanted. In elementary school, the parents will need to reach out to their home school to let those principals know that they are wanting to attend, and then we will work together to make sure that those schedules balance. Is there going to be face-to-face classes? Not on the online. Students will be able to take the in-person courses at their neighborhood school for if they have the dual enrollment status. I know that we have some of the concern with some of the families is that interaction piece, and we do have clubs that are offered. So families can reach out with other peers in the club situation. It's not necessarily in person, but it's a different kind of interaction. Amanda, for sports?
So one big question that's come up is, can my student play sports? And the answer is yes. They can try out at their home school to play sports. We have sports available grades 5 through 12, and they just need to reach out to their home school and ask about when tryouts are, when that schedule will be, and they would be able to play there. It's very important for our students in grades 9 through 12 to reach out to their athletic director as early in the year as possible so that they know the eligibility requirements to be able to be eligible to play those sports later in the year.
Go ahead. Now we're going to go into the elementary focus question.
One question that's come up a lot in elementary is about honors math, and if this will be offered. We'll definitely be able to offer this at their boundary school. And if we have enough sixth graders who qualify for that, or students who qualify for that in Boston, we'd be able to create a section. Otherwise, they would have to dual enroll back at their home school to be able to take that.
So the next question, my student is a GATE student. How will this work? For students that qualify for GATE in the Boise Online, we are working with the GATE pullout. That GATE pullout will be an in-person GATE option for that 1 day a week.
What opportunities will there be for dual language students? And unfortunately, this is not a program that we're going to be able to offer for students in the BOS at this time. Oh, next one's me too. Elementary sports, same thing. Or elementary spots. Students will be enrolled in one school. So we're not going to be able to hold spots at their home school. So you're going to have to be enrolled in one school. And it's just one.
So the next question, will students be grouped with others from their boundary area? We always work best to keep, or we try to do our best to make sure that students are grouped together with people that are close by them. Our goal in the elementary is to have up to 2 classes, depending on our numbers, for each grade level. And so with that, it should be pretty easy to make that a higher possibility. Can we request teachers or other students? As you do in the traditional schools, putting in a request for the characteristics of what your child needs for their type of learning, absolutely. And we will be hopefully doing the teacher selection in early April, and we'll be doing that based on our current enrollment.
Will 5th and 6th graders be able to participate in band and orchestra? And that answer is yes. We're excited to say yes this year. If the family prefers, it will be in person, and they'll be able to dual enroll at their boundary school to participate in band and orchestra.
Okay, now we're going to jump into back to some more general questions from Tammy.
So the question is, will teachers be the same? Some of our teachers, well, actually a lot of our teachers really want to stay with the Boise Online. However, we're going from roughly 4,000 students to 800 based on the survey results. And so with that, the positions will be opened. And so some will be coming back and some are going to be wanting to go back to their traditional homeschool. So yes and no. Does my student have to attend every day? Yes, one of the things that makes us a different online school than other ones that you might find is that interaction with the teacher and that direct learning with an actual highly instructed teacher. So yes, the attendance will be taken daily, and students are expected to attend to that virtual classroom.
Okay, now we're going to jump to Sharice Longoria for a few of our special ed questions that have been submitted.
Thank you, Debbie. The first special education question is, how are special education services provided for elementary and secondary students who qualify for specially designed instruction? This is very similar to how we provide services within a brick and mortar setting. Each student is assigned a special education teacher who is responsible for their case management and the implementation of each student's individualized education plan. The special education teacher then works with the general education teacher and the rest of the IEP team to ensure that they have a schedule, that they're clear on how their services within the IEP get integrated into their daily schedule, and that their IEP is implemented, as well as the services, but also IEP accommodations and/or modifications. And then also the general education teacher and special education teacher work collaboratively to support the students' participation in the general education, as well as to support the students' progress towards their IEP goals. The second question pertaining to special education is, what special education programs will be available? Special education programs across the continuum that we offer within the Boise School District will be available to those students and families that are interested in BOSS. We will be offering those classes similar to general education classes, though we will have a capacity limit for those programs as well. And then the last question pertaining to special education is, how will special education IEP goals and additional supports be addressed for Boise Online elementary students? Teams will utilize the current eligibility and the IEP and the data for that student to determine how to best support the student's individual needs. And they do that in a team format with parent participation. Direct instruction will be provided using the district curriculum in small groups. The difference being that those groups will be virtual versus, around a small table or a small group in person. And then teams will consider different strategies and accommodations to implement as they work to support the individual needs of each student learning virtually. As with any elementary child learning from home, it really is essential that they do have additional adult support as they work through that curriculum and instruction from home.
And then we also wanted to address our support for our English language learners and any students who are on an LEP will be receiving support on their needs.
Okay, and now we're going to go back and look at, speak to Tammy about the secondary questions, Tammy and Amanda.
Okay, so can students still take the IDLA courses, and who will pay for them? And yes, the IDLA courses are always available, and it's just like in the traditional school, students can access those courses using their AO funds. My daughter will be a senior next year. How would graduation work with the online school? Our Boise Online will be holding a graduation for their students because we're a separate school next year. Would she still be able to participate in the commencement ceremonies at her neighborhood school? Yes, we're going to be working with individual students to make this work in the next couple of years. The exceptions can be made to graduate from their boundary school during the initial years of the Boise Online. What if classes that she has registered for are not offered on the online? And we work with every single student to try to get to the best that we can. We've been pretty flexible to find the answers for that, whether we've been great about thinking outside the box to help them. If it isn't available, then there's also the opportunity to do the dual enrollment so that if it's available at their home school, and then we just have to work within the schedules. And what if a class she is registered for doesn't have a minimum of 12 students enrolled? And similar things happen at the traditional school as well with some of the electives. We just need to make sure that we have enough students to pay for the teacher. And if this happens, we work with every student in that situation to find the best outcome for it.
Will clubs be offered for online students? Yes. This year, we've been able to offer over 17 clubs for our online students. And next year, we'll continue to build on those. Can students attend clubs at their home school? No, this is not something that students will be able to do. Students are not allowed to participate in clubs unless you attend that school. And since they won't be enrolled in that school, they'll be enrolled in Boise Online Secondary School or Boise Online Elementary School. They won't be able to dual enroll into a club.
Will a block schedule be used for secondary, or will they attend each period each day? We are still going to have the same system that we have right now. It's going to be the 3 classes per quarter. Are the online schools accepting any kind of AVID classes for my daughter? She did better in the AVID classes. We will continually incorporate our AVID strategies in every class. However, having the actual AVID elective, it's an elective class, and so we'll be working with the home schools to make sure that if the student wants that they can attend that at their home school. If attending the Boise Online School, will my student still be able to participate in athletics at their home school? Yes, you'll need to reach out to the boundary school and follow the same policies. And if it's secondary, have the tryouts and all of that good stuff.
Thought I hit it. Sorry. Will PE classes be offered at the Boise Online School for high school students? Yes. We offered PE classes at every level this year, and we'll continue to do that again next year.
If my student cannot get the Culinary Programs nutrition and food course in the Boise Online, will he still be able to take that as an elective at his home school and have a possible split day? Absolutely. We work with students to make sure that they are able to get the education that they're wanting. So yes, and we actually have the food and nutrition, but I think this is talking about the specific culinary program. But yes, we work with the home schools and the students to make sure that they have that opportunity. So if we haven't answered any of your questions, please feel free to reach out to Amanda or myself, and we can answer any of your questions. Don't hesitate. You can find our contact information on the school district website. It's in the newsletters. You can, Amanda sent out the email regarding how to enroll. You can find our contact information through all of those.
Great. And we will continually update that 21-22 registration page that Amanda created on the online school. So this concludes our program tonight. I really appreciate all of you that tuned in. We will post this recording on that registration page. And we will also convert some of these questions into an FAQ as well. And continually reach out to either your neighborhood school or one of us, Amanda or Tammy or Sharice, if you have special ed questions. We want to help you with this decision for enrolling for next year. Again, thank you so much for joining us tonight.